After an intense gun battle that lasted, we're told, nearly 12 hours, an operation by security forces in Handwara town of Jammu and Kashmir's Kupwara district has come to an end. One colonel, a major, two army jawans and a police sub-inspector were killed in this encounter with terrorists. Reports also that 2 terrorists have been killed in this encounter. So that is the sad news coming in this morning. This encounter, as we said, began 12 hours ago. It was a long encounter that took place, but this morning it has been confirmed that 5 security personnel have been killed, including a colonel and a major. Let's go across to Nazir for more on this story. Nazir, what are the details?
Well, it is a very, very tragic incident. How it happened. Yesterday afternoon, Army and police received a tip-off about the presence of 4 Lashkar militants in a village in Handwara. They launched a joint operation. As they zeroed in the cordon, they came under heavy firing from multiple sides. Senior officer led by a colonel and major, and also the in charge of the special operation group of the Jammu and Kashmir police, a sub-inspector rank officer, they rushed inside a house, because when firing took place from different sides, they rushed inside a house. Unfortunately, what happened, they were trapped there. They were already militants, and it created a hostage-like situation, because the troops could not establish contact with their commanding officer and other officers. They tried on their own, communication network. They tried on their mobile phone, but they could not be contacted by this force with police or the army. So it was a kind of hostage-like situation. It went on for hours and hours, and there was huge firing going on also. Then the special forces were brought in. They launched the operation. 2 militants have been killed, but in this process, what sources are telling us, soon after they were taken hostage, all the 5 security force personnel, so 4 army men, colonel and a major and 2 soldiers and police officer have been killed yesterday afternoon itself. So both the militants have been killed. There were reports there are 4, but no confirmation or information about another 2 as well. But the house that was there, that has been completely destroyed in this operation. This is, was the part of the series of operations launched by the army and police in last 2 weeks, in which a number of militants have been killed in Kashmir. A major offensive was going on against militants. And if we see the casualties on the army since last 1 month, we see last month the special force of the army, they launched a counter-infiltration operation in Kupwara, and they killed 5, infiltrators, but in the process 5 special force officials were killed, and also recently 2 army personnel were killed in Pakistani shelling.
Right, Nazir, we're also joined by Vishnu. Vishnu, just absolutely tragic news coming in this morning. It's an encounter that started yesterday. Now
army, the details of this are as follows. I'm just going to read the statement out. Based on the intelligence input that terrorists were taking the civilian inmates of a house in Changi Mulla in Handwara of the Kupwara district hostage, a joint operation was launched by the army and the Jammu and Kashmir police. A team comprising of 5 army and Jammu and Kashmir personnel entered the target area occupied by the terrorists to evacuate the civilians. The team of the army and the Jammu and Kashmir police entered the target area and successfully extricated the civilians. However, during the process, the team was subjected to heavy volume of fire by the terrorists. In the ensuing firefight, 2 terrorists were eliminated, and the team of 5 army and Jammu and Kashmir personnel, comprising of 2 army officers, 2 army soldiers, and 1 Jammu and Kashmir police sub-inspector were killed in action. Personal details of those killed in action will be released later on. So this is what the situation is right now. There is also a statement from the Jammu and Kashmir Director General of Police, sad to inform that all 5 members of the original team which entered the target house to evacuate, just one moment, let me just try and see what we have. All right, so there's a statement, I'm sorry, I don't have that statement anymore, but all 5 individuals involved in this operation have very sadly been killed in action.
Vishnu, very, very senior officers to lose in an operation like this, and you're telling us they went in to actually extricate a local who'd been held hostage, and clearly the major and colonel were leading this operation from the front.
Yes, so now we aren't revealing names at this stage, but I am told that the colonel, who is obviously a commanding officer, is one of the most highly decorated officers of the rank of colonel in that area. He's been decorated twice for his activities, for his actions in counterinsurgency operations. And the unit that he was commanding is a dedicated anti-terrorism unit, a unit which has a fierce reputation over there. So right now what we are going to do is just stick to what we are being told by the army officially, that based on an intelligence input, the terrorists were taking the civilian inmates of a house in Changimulla, Handwara of Kupwara district hostage. A joint operation was launched by the army and police. A team comprising of 5 army and Jammu and Kashmir police personnel entered the target area occupied by the terrorists to evacuate the civilians. The team entered the target area. They successfully extricated the civilians. So the civilians were saved, but the army and the police units involved in this encounter laid down their lives. However, during the process of the extrication, the team was subjected to a heavy volume of fire by terrorists. In the ensuing firefight, 2 terrorists were eliminated, and the team of 5 army and Jammu and Kashmir personnel, comprising of 2 army officers, 2 army soldiers, and 1 Jammu and Kashmir police sub-inspector were killed in action. Personal details will be released later on. So, again, this is very sad because just a few weeks back, we've had 5 members of a special forces unit who were also killed in action in a major encounter in Kupwara as they were able to intercept and along with other units were able to eliminate a group of heavily armed Pakistani terrorists who had tried to make a high altitude incursion into India. And now this incident as well, quite clearly in the last couple of days, in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a stepping up of terrorist activity in Jammu and Kashmir. I should also add, and this is important, that at least 2 terrorists were shot dead by our security forces in the encounter in Handwara. They were apparently trying to escape for these terrorists when they were taken out. They're thought to be foreign terrorists. Again, but this detail on the terrorists is source-based. It hasn't come from the army officially. We expect many more details to progressively emerge. So that's what we are reporting, and this is of course unbelievably tragic that something like this would happen. On the one hand, we've got all of the world and certainly India fighting the menace of COVID-19 with so many people losing their lives, and yet efforts to infiltrate into India, into engaging us with terrorists continues unabated. These are thought to be foreign terrorists, obviously brought in either through a direct involvement of the Pakistani armed forces or the terrorist handlers.
Right, Vishnu, as you're telling us, over the last couple of weeks, we've seen a stepping up of these sort of infiltration attempts, these encounters taking place. This encounter was particularly long. It started yesterday, late afternoon, and I know you've been tracking it through the night. And finally, this morning, this very tragic news coming in, and this confirmation from the army.
So, Gargi, there was all sorts of news which was actually coming in. I've been tracking this since last night. There were some reports which suggested that all of the officers and the men of the army and the police had indeed lost their lives in this operation. They were killed in action. There were other accounts which came in saying that all of them had been extricated successfully. We chose not to report the story at all. And even half an hour, 45 minutes after, others this morning started reporting the very tragic death of these men, that we have decided to go ahead and report the story, and we are only doing this on the basis of what is being shared to us by the army spokesperson, and whatever I actually read out is what the army is sharing with us. But I think to answer your question, it's just incredibly sad that this has taken place in Handwara, which is in the Kupwara area, in this particular encounter, which has taken place. There is a lot of detail which is also there surrounding the nature of the encounter. I'm not getting into that because we're just trying to wait for what we officially hear. Because in a situation like this, unfortunately, and we've seen this in the recent past, there are multiple accounts of what happened. One account or one source disagrees with another. There is the police and there is the army, there is the corps, there is the command, there is army headquarters at various levels. So we will only stick to what is given to us in an official message and not be drawn into the detail. But there is a lot of detail which does exist. I would assume that some of it on the nature of the encounter is accurate, but I'm not getting into that right now. I think the big story over here and the very sad piece of news that we are having to report is that at a time when India is fighting COVID-19, when the armed forces, the Air Force, the Navy and the Army will be honoring police personnel across our cities, will be honoring medical workers, doctors, paramedics, nurses, and so many others by showering petals on them as the entire country tries to rally behind the call to try and respect and honor those who are trying to fight to save our lives as medics and others. We have this other situation of terrorists engaging our security forces and of the Indian Army and of police services in Jammu and Kashmir, the Jammu and Kashmir police in this case, suffering very sad losses, killed in action in this encounter in Handwara. So just another sentence or two, I'll just repeat from what the army spokesperson has actually shared. Based on the intelligence input that terrorists were taking the civilian inmates of a house in Changi Mulla in Handwara of Kupwara district hostage, a joint operation was launched by the Army and Jammu and Kashmir Police. A team comprising of 5 Army and Jammu and Kashmir Police personnel entered the target area occupied by the terrorists to evacuate the civilians. The team of the Army and Jammu and Kashmir Police entered the target area and successfully extricated the civilians. However, during the process, the team was subjected to heavy volume of fire by the terrorists. In the ensuing firefight, 2 terrorists were eliminated, and the team of 5 Army and Jammu and Kashmir personnel, comprising of 2 Army officers, 2 Army soldiers, and 1 Jammu and Kashmir Police sub-inspector, were killed in action. Personal details will be released later on. So this is just very sad news coming in. It's unclear at this stage if the operation itself is over, because there is always this process of sanitizing a site where an encounter has taken place, where the area is covered to ensure that there are no terrorists waiting in, lying and waiting over there in ambush. So that's what we can report as far as Handwara is concerned now, Gargi.